Now, with the Marshall charitable organization, the Marshall Plans charity, they do some pretty special things. Tell us your vision of that organization and what they do.
Why I decided to do this, I named it the Marshall Plan. We have nothing to do with the Marshall Plan, but I thought everybody would understand what that is. Sure. It's rebuilding a country. So I thought, why? There are thousands of organizations out there. Millions are being spent. Why isn't it doing better? Why isn't it successful? New York University did a study based on 63 years of studying poverty, and they said the reason that only a country could bring itself out of poverty. You cannot pay a country's way out of poverty, our own or anybody else's. The people themselves have to want to do it, and they have to do it. But they have to have 5 things. They have to have enough food, not much, maybe a meal a day. Clean water. You know, throughout history, more armies have been destroyed by dysentery than by any bullet.
Right.
And so a person who is suffering from this malady and hungry can't work, can't learn, can't do anything. So even the schools are not useful without some kind of help in that regard. So then the schools, maybe a 2nd grade education, a clinic with shots, you know, a polio cube is 50 cents. A mosquito net is $1.50, and a midwife would make all the difference in the world, because they have more children dying in Afghanistan than any country in the world, but a very small country in Africa. So right. It is, and of course their population's been decimated. So we need the midwife, we need some birthing help, and then we need jobs. Because if they're going to bring themselves out of poverty, they have to have a job to do it, and not sell their kids. Right. So we said, okay, what we're going to do is to get every organization that is working in Afghanistan successfully, to those who are doing water, those who are doing agriculture, those who are building schools, those who are doing clinics, and those who are teaching in a trade center what the people can sell in the neighborhood. So we tried that, and we said, oh, this is the way, and well, join us. Well, we had all kind of organizations come, but when it came right down to joining us, they wanted us to pay for it, and we didn't have any money. So finally, I went to people in Houston, Texas, and I said, you've got to give me the money for Afghanistan. And so Houston, Texas raised $500,000, and that paid for the water, the food, the clinic, the trade center, and the teachers, and the school. So anyway, we were very thrilled with that, because we were able to do it for less than half of what it costs to keep one soldier in the field 1 year. And that village is still surviving, but our guy was murdered.
Right. And this is going to be something you and I talked about, is that any of the nonprofit work at a community level in a place like Afghanistan is likely going to meet with some kind of retribution or intimidation. And so one of the things I'd ask our viewers to think about, certainly our members who are in the special operations community that are going to be in Afghanistan for 2014 and possibly beyond, is the Village Stability Program, while it's kind of on its way out, Afghan local police that are in these villages that are advised by special operations are still out there. And always our advisors are looking for connections to make with folks that are doing that bottom-up stability piece to complement the security. And I think what the Marshall Plan Charities is doing is very compatible with a lot of these bottom-up special ops advisory efforts with the security forces. And that could make a nice blend where hopefully the great work that you're talking about is afforded some local protection by men of the village.
Yeah, and men like you. All the colonels that wrote me, this was the most heartwarming, exciting thing. I muscled my way into Admiral Mullen, and who did try to help me so much. But it was the colonels in the field that wrote me and said, this is the way, this is the answer. How can we help you?
Right.
And they were so wonderful. And they said, well, you wrote me back. And I said, of course I wrote you back. God bless you for caring. And they're the ones that decided where we're going to put our village. They're the ones who decided everything, and really managed it and got it done. But the problem is they were only there for 6 months.
Sure.
And and that's what they said was, I care, but the next guy that comes in may not care.
Yeah, and that's a real problem, and we're going to have to continue to deal with is the turnover.
Yes, and because what happens is it's a patchwork.
Sure.
You see, and a patchwork quilt doesn't keep you warm.
No.
But a quilt that's all sewn together, which is by having all the 5 things, food or water, education, healthcare, and job, all at one time. And we need all the organizations that do those things. We don't want you to do, not you, Scott, you are doing it, God bless you. But there are people that just do water. Come, do your water. We won't tell you how to do it. But you got to bring your money, unless we can get it together. But you're going to do it anyway. Why do you care where you do it in Afghanistan? Do it together with the guy who controls the agriculture, or who's working with agriculture, who's planting seeds and fertilizer and showing the people how to do it. Like your earthworm story. Have you told the earthworm story?
Yeah, we've talked about that actually a lot, and the loss of farming capacity, where locals, actually we've seen them killing earthworms because they think they eat the crops. Just basic extension agent training, that will help farmers understand that earthworms actually, contribute to soil composition. I mean, that's not that pricey. But it can increase crop yields, which increases resiliency and push back against extremism.
That's the thing, Scott. It's little stuff.
Right.
See, they don't know, and superstition has permeated their society to the extent that they are like they believe the earthworms were bad, you see.
Right.
And they didn't even know sometimes washing your hands. But if you have no water, or you have to walk 5 miles to get it,
Sure.
you're not going to use it to wash your hands
Right.
or to water your plants, because you can't. You got to use it to cook and eat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the real message and takeaway here is that as we transition in Afghanistan and the force levels come down, the folks that are still there doing security, doing advisory work, doing development work, we're going to have to come together with the private sector, with nonprofits, and find ways to work together on these problems. There's just not enough folks, I don't think, to do these things by themselves. And frankly, each of us has kind of a limited skill that only when we work with another organization
and
can
think
we
how
bring
we
it
can
together.
hone that skill.
Right.
It can really be good.
Yes.
If we don't have to do everything. And also just think about the bookkeeping things. If we could all work together in one organization, just the running the organization would cost less.
Right.
But anyway, those are things that are important. But what's really important is for the people to see that it doesn't take a whole lot. In our country, $50.
Right.
We can do a lot with $50.
Absolutely.
If you feel like, oh, I can't give very much, so I just won't give anything, don't. If you care at all about these people, and they care about you, because they loved America. They don't now, but they loved America. I was told by Afghans, if you had elected a president after 9/11, 80% of Afghanistan would have voted for him, whoever he was,
Right.
because they just loved America. But we twice walked out on them. After the Russians, and they fought to the death, and not one American soldier died against the Russians.
Right.
The Afghans fought it all. We gave them a lot of good stuff,
Right.
but they fought the war. And I believe that if we could help countries that are trying to survive quickly enough, and gave them the weapons and gave them the things that they need, that they would fight their own battles. And our boys don't need, and girls don't need to be over there.
Right. Now, you and I talked about something earlier before we came on camera that is really important, which is understanding why this matters. There's lots of places in the world that arguably need this type of attention, that need this type of stability. But in places like Afghanistan, I think it's important to reiterate to everybody watching this that these areas where the Afghan government or the host nation government can't project, where traditional society used to handle its own affairs Now it cannot. And as a result of that, violent extremists are coming into these areas. They're setting up shop, and they're not just content to conduct local affairs. They're setting up shop so that they can rest, refit, project, and inspire back here, back to the U.S. and other places of civil society. And we ignore these rural outlying areas that seemingly don't matter at our peril.
We do, and as I said, we are having it more and more. But their whole reason for doing this, the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda and all these different groups, is that their objective is America. And they already have groups here. We know there's cells here in the United States. And what they're waiting for is the leader. And the leader is trained in Afghanistan, comes over here, and what they're planning, what I've been told, and it sounds horrible, but is not one 9/11, but lots of little 9/11s. So that not one stadium, not one school, not one airport is going to be safe.
While we're on the subject of the Marshall Plan charity, then I'm going to throw it over to one last question for you. But the website, but that's where people can go to learn more about it. They can come to us at the Stability Institute if they need to help with connections to you or anyone else.
Yes.